Welcome to That Heartbreak Hogs podcast. If you are new here, please consider hitting that thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. Please comment down below your thoughts on our takes. And with that being said, we are going to head into the video that you came here for. All right. Well, we are back after a tough loss, but honestly, I don't say this often, but I felt good about this loss. Like I said, I don't say this often, but I did not expect Arkansas to win this game. And if you watched our last episode, I didn't expect us to beat Texas, although that doesn't mean I didn't want them to beat Texas. I did, and I'm glad that they beat Texas. I was at that game. It was awesome. But they the way that they came back and fight actually told me a lot about this team, because I did not want to lose by double digits to Alabama, and I didn't want it to get out of hand where it was by like 20 points and with like 8 minutes to go in the game, or whatever it was, 8 minutes, something like that, and it was an 18-point game. It was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know where this team is. Texas lost after we beat them. Kentucky isn't looking good after we beat them. Like, what's going on here? How do we gauge this team? And then they had that big comeback, and they had an opportunity to win. I thought that in the inbound pass, it was obvious that Alabama was trying to foul. You need to have a play to pull up and shoot the ball. You cannot be dribbling after the inbound, they foul you, and then you risk missing a free throw. So I thought that they could have managed that a little bit better. It did sound like Cal in the press conference afterwards mentioned that he had written up a play to shoot the ball, and that for whatever reason the guys didn't, do that. But overall, still, I liked seeing the fight. I liked seeing the comeback, and I'm excited to see what they do after this, because I do think that they do have fight in them, and I do think that this team, I don't think they're at the top 10 level right now, and Alabama is now ranked number 2. So you were able to compete with them and walk away with a 4-point loss. But I think that you can compete with other tournament teams as of right now, and that's going to get you in. In my opinion, I think that they are on track to getting in. Sid, after that long-winded speech that I just gave everybody, how are you feeling about the game? What were
Yeah,
you going through?
I'll back it up a little bit, and I'll start with Texas, since that's the first game that we kind of were hoping for a win, and to kind of get us the ball rolling for
Right.
us for the 3-game stretch we had talked about. The Texas, Bama, LSU, right? We wanted all 3 of these. So I'll start with
Right.
Texas. Um, Felt great. I think we looked good against Texas, and I was happy that, again, you were at the game, and um, just felt good about Texas, and which made me even more confident that we could beat Bama.
Right.
Um, Now, just moving on to Bama, I know it's a loss, like you said, but we had talked about this where we wanted a competitive game, as long as as long as they still remain competitive, and we knew it was going to be a high
Yep.
scoring game, and they were going to have to put up 80 plus, right, to
Right.
just be able to match up with them, and they did match up with them. It, is it unfortunate that we took an L? Very, but
Yeah.
I honestly, it's tough against the Bama. I mean, I'll just say this: at this point in the season, with how our season has gone, we need these wins. I know Bama's a great team. They're ranked 2 right now, and a close loss is still a close loss,
Right.
which isn't terrible against a number 2 team. But with how our season has gone, with how we lost against LSU, we just need these games, as well as the ones that are, as I love to use the phrase, must win games.
Yeah.
These games also matter now that we haven't had the best of a season. These games will be the factor
Right.
in whether we make it in the tournament or not. And to be honest, right now, I don't think Obviously, right now, don't think we will.
Yeah.
But like we've got some stretches coming up where it is possible to make a statement where we can have these close losses, even though obviously against LSU, I'm expecting hopefully a win this time around. But
Right.
after that,
Yeah.
Auburn
You,
and
you
A and
have to beat
M,
LSU.
right?
You absolutely have to. Like, if you can't beat
Exactly.
LSU, you're not beating anybody else. Like, if you do, it's not going to be very many. You may get one against South Carolina, you know, or two
And
more,
where
but
it may not
yeah,
matter, right? We have like I'm saying, these games matter now more than
yeah,
ever to win, to make a statement, to make a run at it. But
right.
if we don't get this, then I think it's just it's
It,
over. I mean,
and
they're
that would be a
giving us no
quad
hope.
three loss too. Like LSU is
Right.
now in the quad three level. Like that is just you cannot lose to LSU. Um,
Hmm.
and you're right about the close games. It sounded like what you're saying is if we're gonna have close games, you got to come out with the win.
Yeah.
A loss is not really going to do us any favors. The only thing that I will say to that is if it is a high rated team, like a top 10 team, a close loss can actually be beneficial. The Alabama situation, for example, we were on the outside. We were the last four out in Lenardi's bracket right before the Alabama game. And then after the close loss, we remained at that spot. So if we would have won, yes, we would have jumped in there. Like 100% we would have. But a close loss to a top team isn't the worst thing that can happen. But yes, a win is definitely going to be better. What you don't want is to have a close loss against like a quad two team. Um,
Yeah.
you know.
For
But
sure.
I
I
see
mean,
what you
yes, that
mean. You're
makes sense.
saying we need wins. Like, yeah,
We need wins because we
that's
should
what
not
you're
have
really
lost
getting
against
at.
LSU. We should not have
Hmm.
lost against Georgia. I mean, not Georgia, Oklahoma. Those losses and those
Yes.
close losses makes this close loss not as great
Right, right.
as it could have been.
Yeah, the Oklahoma one, man.
If we
Mm,
had gotten those close losses as wins, of
yeah.
course, this Bama game just losing by 4 points would have been that much more of a statement that hey, we are able to like keep up with these teams, and this still is. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. It's just we need these wins. We need these wins to kind of move on. Right now, we're at the
Yeah, I
bottom of these
agree.
standings in the SEC, and we've talked about this. SEC is one of the toughest, if not the toughest, conference this year, and
Right.
even being the bottom three is not, or bottom three, bottom five is not going to cut it.
Right.
Um, Even though it is the best conference, and that's why I want these wins to get us out of that hole.
So it's looking like the latest projections are saying that a 6-win Arkansas team could get in the tournament. A 7-win team is very likely to get in the tournament. And then an 8-win is you're basically locked in. Like you're in if you get to 8. 7 is kind of like the goal of we're pretty much locked, but it's not like a lock, but it's like you're in really good shape if you get to 7. Again, 8 is where you're locked in. So they're at 3 right now.
Right.
LSU could be 4. Then you go to A&M, you go to Auburn, you host Missouri, you host Texas. That could be number 5. You've already beaten them. You can show that. I'm not saying we will, but I'm saying that out of the teams I just mentioned, LSU, A&M, Auburn, Missouri, Texas, LSU and Texas are the ones I'm circling of you have to win those games. You cannot
Yeah.
lose to LSU. You cannot lose to Texas. So then that puts us at 5. We go to South Carolina. I do not think South Carolina has an SEC win yet. They do not. So they are 0-10 in conference right now. We should beat them. So that would put us at 6. We go to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is 5-5 in conference. I don't know if we're going to win that. So let's just chalk it up as possibly a loss. We go to Mississippi State, or we host Mississippi State. My bad. They're 5-5. So we can get, if we beat LSU, we beat Texas, and we beat South Carolina. That's 3 wins. That gets us to 6. 6 is like the bare minimum. 7 and 8 are what you're looking at to be secured in there, meaning that you're going to have to get one, in these other games like A&M, Auburn, Missouri, Vanderbilt, or Mississippi State.
But do you think we need a ranked win? The only ranked opponent so far we've beaten, I think, is Kentucky.
Yeah.
Who, again, like you said earlier,
I don't know if they're
not
currently
doing,
ranked.
They're, I think they're still ranked, but as you said, they've been dropping and they haven't been doing well. I think they're 15.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They are still ranked. Okay, so they're 15.
So
okay, nice.
That's our only.
And they're about to beat
team
Tennessee.
right
It
now.
looks like.
So I think we do need a ranked win as well.
I agree.
On top of that list.
Yeah.
Whether that's, that's if A&M stays on rankings, Missouri, Mississippi State, whoever it is, at that point in time or at the end of the season, I think we need ranked opponent wins.
I agree with you. I think 6, the only reason that 6 could get you in is you have John Calipari as the coach and a ridiculous recruiting class coming that people may tilt and be like, oh, let's put them in instead of Wofford or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you. I don't. After looking at this, you've got South Carolina, Texas, LSU. Those are 3 unranked teams. The only other unranked team left on your schedule as of right now is Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt is not easy. You're going to Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. The other ones are all ranked. A&M is number 8, Auburn's number 1, Missouri's 21, and Mississippi State is 22. So you have 4 unranked teams left on the schedule, and I don't think that all 4 are guaranteed. That's the thing. And then you have really tough ranked ones. You have 2 in the top 10, A&M and Auburn. So, and both of those are on the road, by the way. So I think that if you can sneak one out of Aggieland, man, and or Auburn, that changes things. But you cannot lose to LSU or Texas. You cannot. And you cannot lose to South Carolina. So there's 3 games on here. You cannot lose to LSU, and I'll say South Carolina. I'm having Texas on there too because you're going to be, I think, fighting for Texas to get into the tournament. So I think Texas has kind of fallen out of the tournament talks, and they're trying to claw their way back in, and they are 1 SEC game in front of Arkansas. If we can tie it up and potentially take a 1 game lead over Texas,
especially because they play Bama today, Texas does. So if that happens and LSU tomorrow wins, we're tied right back neck and neck.
We would be tied with them. We're assuming that Bama's going to beat Texas. And honestly, I really hope that does not happen because that's really going to hurt us if Bama loses to Texas.
If Bama loses to Texas,
loses to Texas, it will hurt our chances of getting in. We want Texas, as we always do. We want Texas to lose out.
We want that for sure.
Well, not lose out necessarily, but yeah, we want Texas to drop a couple. We need to get some. If you look at Texas's schedule, because the only reason we're doing this is because we're competing with them to get in. Texas plays Alabama, which is in Austin. They're hosting Kentucky after that. Then they go to South Carolina, which should be a dub for them. Then they come to Arkansas. If we beat Texas twice, even if somehow they are one game ahead of us in the SEC. That might give us the edge over them. So that's why I think it is important that we beat Texas. I think that it's
Mhm.
more important to beat LSU and uh, South Carolina because you just don't want a quad 3 loss.
Yeah,
So
I would say Texas is still a while away from us thinking about them, but
right, right,
LSU for sure is right tomorrow. So
yeah,
LSU is have to be it has to be a win. Um,
yeah. If you lose to LSU, good luck.
if you lose to LSU twice, yeah,
Yeah, it's just you're not going to beat A&M. You're not going to beat Auburn. You're not going to beat Missouri. But if you can beat LSU and you can just sneak one or two, it would be awesome if you won all three. But if you could just sneak one of A&M, Auburn, and Missouri, or two of them, three of them, like I said, and then come back home, knock Texas out, you're in for a you're in the driver's seat and you will decide your fate based off of what happens after that. If you can
mhm.
close the season strong and win a couple of the next 4 or 5 games, then you're in the driver's seat and your destination is up to you. You know, where you land in the tournament is up to you from there. Don't lose any games you shouldn't lose. So, anyway, Sid,
Yeah, I
what are you
think
thinking over there? What
no,
gets them in? What gets them
I'm
in
just
for you?
it's pretty similar to what you mentioned, honestly. I think it's gonna really depend on getting a ranked opponent win. And at that point in time, we can't have beat Missouri and then Missouri just starts losing as well and then just falls out of the rankings. Um,
You're
I'm
right.
talking about ranked like Kentucky, I
They
think
finish ranked.
finished
They need to
ranked.
fit. Yeah.
Right. I think Kentucky finishes ranked, and
Yeah.
obviously A&M, Auburn probably do as well. And who knows, maybe Missouri, Mississippi State do as well. But I think finishing ranked,
Right.
those will matter, and that's why this A&M opportunity is huge, and this
Right.
Auburn opportunity is even bigger.
And this
Um,
being a rivalry game with A&M, it makes it more of a possibility. You know, it's just one
mhm.
of those that it's one of those things that it's the same thing. If they were coming here, it's like don't overlook these guys. You
Yeah,
know.
I see. I mean, like Auburn has only lost one game
Mm-hmm.
um, in
I think they have
conference,
two now. Oh yeah, one conference. Yeah.
one conference, and I'm trying to see who was that to. And I think this was early on as well.
Yes, it was
Florida. That's right.
Florida. Well, that was
Actually,
that was last week,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the one before that, well, that's their only conference loss, but they lost at Duke earlier this
Hmm.
season, which was of course a non-conference game. It looks like right now as we're recording this, Auburn is playing at Vanderbilt. It looks like yes,
Hmm.
it's at Vanderbilt, and it is a 8-point game. So Vanderbilt is down by 8. Auburn is most likely about 6.5 minutes left. Auburn is probably gonna take this thing.
Pull this out.
Uh,
But
and Kentucky
they
is
got Bama
up
this
by
week.
2.
Auburn and Bama play this week, so
That'll be
I mean,
interesting.
these guys just fighting each other out will be kind of more helpful towards us, even though it doesn't matter for us right now. I just for us, it's just getting these wins and to get, like you mentioned earlier, to get those 6 wins, to get those 7 wins. It's
Hmm.
just getting these wins for us. Honestly,
Right.
I don't think anything else is gonna matter who we beat, who we don't beat. But I think getting to those wins and at least one ranked opponent, another ranked opponent, um, will get us in
So to get to 7, you do have to beat one ranked opponent because there's
hmm
only. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, that's not right. Uh,
for
to get to
uh,
7, there are
you
4
don't have
unranked
to
opponents left on the schedule. To
as of
get to
now. Yeah.
8, you need to beat a ranked opponent at least one.
Mhm.
And then if you lose to one of these unranked opponents, you'll have to beat 2 ranked opponents to get to
Mhm.
8. So Sid, what do you think if, let's say that they beat A&M but they drop Texas?
Okay.
Do they get in?
Honestly, and we're saying that they still go 6, like, out of the 8 games
7. That would
remaining.
go uh oh yeah, I
We
guess
got
that would
8
be
games
6.
remaining,
Yeah, that
so
would get
they
them
would
to
still
6,
be
I
6.
guess. Yeah.
Um, yeah, we've got 8 games remaining. If they beat A&M and lose to Texas, I think that would get them in for sure, and we get to that 6 number. But
Okay.
it's just gonna be, again, like I said, wins are gonna matter more than, who we necessarily beat as well, because essentially all these teams in the SEC conference are good.
Yeah.
And even though they might not be ranked at this specific point in time, some of them could be ranked,
Right.
depending on how that season and this like rest of the season turns out. Um, so to that sense, the wins for now is what I care about more, um, right now.
Yeah.
As we finish and beat, not beat, but like, well, hopefully beat, as we end the season and hopefully
Yeah.
beat Mississippi State. Then I
Yeah.
want to see how many ranked opponents that we
Right.
actually beat. But if we go 6-2 out of those, then yeah, of course.
Yeah. And then there is there's the SEC tournament after that, but you want to
Mhm.
go into the SEC tournament already locked in. You don't
Right.
want to enter the SEC tournament because A&M, there was one point in time where they went to the SEC final, the SEC championship final in the bracket. And they didn't make it into the tournament, even though they beat 3 or 4 really good SEC teams on the way to the bracket final, but the tournament final, it wasn't enough to put them in. So best case scenario here is, I think, the benchmark here, I think, is really 7. Honestly, I think you need to get to 7.
Mhm.
At least get to 7. So that would be, we're at 3 right now. So LSU, Texas, Vanderbilt. Yeah. So and South Carolina. Okay. So I think you need to get to. Yeah, I think you have to at least get 7 doing that. But like you said, a top ranked win, or a rank against a a win against a ranked opponent,
Yeah.
that will lock you in if
Missouri,
you can beat
A&M,
everybody
Auburn,
else.
Vandy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess 8 then. I was saying 7, but I just don't think 6 is enough.
I think 7 could
If
be
you beat
enough still.
Auburn,
Yeah.
if you beat Auburn and you get to 6 or 7, that might be enough.
I don't know if 6 is still gonna be enough,
I don't
but
know
yeah,
either,
you're right.
man.
There is obviously a much better shot if you beat Auburn and you get to 6,
Yeah.
um, and Auburn remains this good for the rest of the season
Just
as
win
well.
all of them. Just win the
Um,
remainder of the games. Just
that's honestly, that's a lot, asking a lot since how the season's turned out, and
I
that's
think
what
you're
I'm
locked in
saying.
at 8 though. I think there's no
Oh,
question about
easy.
it. If you get
I
to
think
8, you're
you're
locked
locked
in.
in. I think you're locked in at 7.
Okay.
Um, and again, maybe 6 if you beat an Auburn team. It's
Right.
possible.
Right. But I guess
Um, but
we'll
we'll
just have to
say
wait and see what happens with
7, and
LSU. If you lose to LSU, I mean, it's not only that it's just like, oh, well, there's more games left. If you can't beat LSU, you're not winning any of those other
oh yeah.
games. Like that's the thing, is like, this
Now
is,
this, I think we're
yeah,
at, I'll call it now. I don't know about you, but I'll call it now. If we don't make LSU, if we don't win tomorrow, it's
yeah.
over.
I
We're not making it in.
yeah. Uh,
I think
like,
everyone
it's not
agrees to that.
official by then, but the writing's going to be on the wall that it's just,
Yeah,
they don't
I
have what
think
it
it's
takes. They're
just
just, yeah. That's going to be a really, really hard tunnel to dig out of, or a hole to dig out of. So
Hmm.
anyway, I think we'll just have to wait and see. Make sure we get by LSU, and then we're going to be talking about these next 3 ranked opponents that we've got to get
Yeah.
at least one out of the next 3, and then you got to beat Texas coming home, and then I think you're in the driver's seat. So
Yeah.
LSU and Texas must wins. Missouri opportunity at Auburn, and a big opportunity at A&M to put a resume builder on there. And this is the time of year that Cal starts building resumes. So we'll see.
Yeah. I just don't also want to be the first, like in part of the first 4 out. That one's going to be even more
Oh, that would be
excruciating. Like,
tough, man.
so
Yeah.
just let's
Well,
see if we can do enough.
I think they have a legit shot. It's just up to them. Don't lose any games you're not supposed to, and
Mhm.
win a couple games you're not supposed to.
And have a not dominating win in there too.
Right.
Like Kentucky showed, like beating Kentucky by good amount kind of showed your dominance, like how you can win these games by good margin, even Texas. So I want to see that against LSU this time around. Like, hey, we fixed it. We beaten this team by 10 or 15. We know what we're doing now. We're
Yep.
not keeping it close.
Right.
Sure, Auburn, A&M, I don't expect that not to be close, and I'd be surprised
Right.
if they weren't close. But
Right.
with the wins that we're supposed to have, let's dominate in them.
Yep. Yep. All right, man. Well, as we're recording this, Tennessee just took the lead over Kentucky up by 3 with about 6 minutes left. That will be interesting. We kind of need Kentucky to keep winning. So I'm going to be rooting for Kentucky on this one because we need it for resume building. Well, I mean, I guess we lost to Tennessee too, but since we beat Kentucky, we want Kentucky's resume to look better towards the end of the season here. But I think that's going to do it for today. Sid, let's go beat those Tigers.
Let's do it.
All right, see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. Again, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and commenting down below. We'll see you guys in the next video.